Welcome to the Sofa Kingdom podcast with your hosts, Nelson,
Ian,
and all right, today we're going to jump into some strong man competitors, competition, the whole nine, everything it takes to be the biggest, baddest motherfucker on the planet.
hefty.
Yes, and we're not talking about me, even though, I could be a strong man, but no, I couldn't. I seen the shit that they do. But I'm going to let Ian tell you all about this strong man competition.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, World's Strongest Man is a competition that's held pretty much yearly. It's been going on for the last 30 years or so, probably close to 40 now.
Yep. Nice.
And yeah, it's pretty much self-explanatory. The largest, most powerful people you can get together, lifting heavy things, and sometimes doing it in a fast session. Trying to find out who's the biggest and the strongest amongst them.
And they tend to be like not your average looking guy, right? Like
No.
they are like literal fucking giants, behemoths of human beings,
Larger than life by definition.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they were big guys in the beginning, but they were kind of normal, closer to normal height, I would say at least. But over the years, it's gone from very large guys around normal height to like, you really got to be 6'3" and up and over 300 pounds if you want to actually be, in the running to win.
Yeah, the earlier guys that were doing it were like obviously weightlifters that were drawn to it, but you had pro wrestlers, you had bodybuilders. Yeah, I mean the first competitions were actually kind of funny to watch. I think Lou Ferrigno and actual Franco Columbo used to compete in the original ones.
Nice.
I think Franco Columbo actually injured himself during a refrigerator race. It was like a race with a refrigerator on your back.
A refrigerator strapped to your back.
And Franco Columbo was a little guy. I mean, he was a bodybuilder. He was strong, but he was a tiny human. As he was running with this fridge, I think he just tore his ACL to pieces.
Damn. That's one thing.
There's actually a clip out there of it.
That's one thing that I did notice watching a lot of the strongman competitions is like these guys really put their body on the line in a way that even when they're competing, like nosebleeds, like tearing pecs, tearing like thigh muscles, like they're getting hurt out there.
Oh yeah,
doing this.
Well, outside of competition, you got to think of what that does to you. I mean, like there's some guys that are big naturally, the Brian Shaws, the Half-Thor Bjornsons.
Yeah.
But there's dudes like Eddie Hall that we were talking about earlier,
right?
Who's not that gigantic of a guy. I think he's 6 foot, 6'1", something like that.
Yeah.
But it's just the amount of eating.
Compared to a regular person, he's gigantic. But compared to other strongman characters,
He's a midget.
He's smaller in comparison. But how much do you think they eat? Like on a given day?
15,000 calories?
it's 10 to 15,000 calories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie.
Damn, you think they got to act for that? Like, you're a strongman or a sumo wrestler at this point.
There's videos of them going to the grocery store.
There's several videos, but there's also videos of they're very competitive people. So Eddie, Shaw, they had a show on History Channel, and was also who were the other two gentlemen?
Nick Best and Brian Oberst.
Yes, and every time it was a chance to sit down to eat, it was a fucking competition. Who can eat more? Who can eat faster? And it was always a bet at the end.
So they walk into an IHOP and the chef in the back is just fucking sweating. He's like, oh God. He's like, call in the night shift. I'm gonna need some help.
Well, I mean, when Brian, so right there, you get even. Let's say Nick Best isn't even there. If you get Brian, Eddie, and Oberst at the table. That's 1,300 pounds of human right there.
Yes.
I mean, that's right there. 3 people, 1,300 pounds. Right
you know what? You know what's funny is I was watching one of the documentaries with Eddie Hall.
Yes.
And he had to sit on an airplane next to somebody. And he looks at the guy. He's like, sorry, buddy. Yeah. And like, he's just like, poor guy's like underneath his armpit, like, hello. Like, he's like, fuck, dude. Like, and he acknowledges it. He's like, when I have to go on a plane, it's probably the worst thing about competing. Yeah. Because he's so gigantic that when he couldn't afford to get multiple seats to sit in, he's forced to squish himself next to some poor, unlucky soul. Yeah. Because number one, what are you going to fucking tell him? Like, hey, move your shoulder over? Like, no, you're just going to be like, is your arm comfortable? Like, you want me to hold it on my head for you? I don't know. Like,
that's like when Andre the Giant used to fly to Japan for like the events they would do. Like how big pro wrestling was in Japan. I mean, Andre would have to be on a 17-hour flight.
Oh my God!
And you got a guy that's 7 foot tall, 500 pounds.
Yeah.
what are you going to do?
There's very little.
He's 3 people.
Yeah.
Ironically, I wish I would have seen him be around when this stuff was going on. I mean, it was probably taken off when he was still alive, but he was already making his money
in a career. Yeah, and that's the other thing is like there's not a lot of money in the sport of strongman.
No, it's not.
No, not unless
that's one thing that I was surprised at.
Unless you're
think
consistently
it's like an Olympic.
Winning. Yeah, especially in the beginning when it was first happening. You had people like Kaz in there was really kind of one of the first characters. There wasn't really a lot of money. It was essentially bragging rights. I'd say around the time that it started having multiple competitions where you have the Arnold Classic, and then you had the regular Strongman, you had Giants Live. That's when it started having multiple competitions, so you could win multiple prizes in a year.
Right.
Is when some of the people at the podium, the top 3, started making money. You started seeing people like Brian Shaw having, sponsors.
Right.
And that and just like in MMA where the prize money for the comp wasn't really your big payday. It was your sponsors
to help you get through to the competition.
Yeah.
I remember Metrics. Metrics was like the first
big
one
they were everywhere.
Because when I got into Strongman, when I first started watching it, it was like old reruns on ESPN.
Yes.
Right. I'd be hanging out on like a Saturday at the house as a kid, and like ESPN would be on, and I would see Metrics, World's Strongest Man.
Yep.
And at the time, I'm trying to think, the first dude I heard about Bill Kazmaier, that name, because he was like the first star. Like, NFL guy that transitioned into Strongman.
Right.
But I think the first guy that I knew was Mariusz Pudzianowski from Poland. Nice. Because he was winning, and the one thing that threw me off about him was like he was a strongman, but he was ripped.
Yes, he looked like a bodybuilder.
He wasn't bulky. He was enormous. Like he was shredded at like 300 plus pounds.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell is that?
And there's more of a normal sized human being doing the strongman.
No. He was a giant.
Huge.
He was a giant.
Okay, 300 pounds, but
generally speaking, there's a minimum level of body fat you want on your body for your body to burn energy as efficiently as possible, which is why you'll see they don't lean down too much because there is a optimum for performance in terms of moving heavy shit.
Hard to be lean when you're eating 15,000
especially when you're doing especially if you're doing like
cutting
like
weight.
a pull. If you're doing some form of pull where you have something heavy behind you on wheels, the more weight you have, the easier it is to keep the momentum. So usually those are parts of the competitions as well. So keeping up your body weight does lend itself to certain activities depending on the competition that they're doing that day.
Right. And some of the competitions, it seems like there's pull, push, throwing, like keg tosses, squats. They have the deadlifts.
Deadlift's a big boy there.
Overhead. Those seem to be crazy because the amount of weight that they're lifting over their head.
Yeah.
Like Eddie Hall dropped it on his shoulder, like the log lift.
Yeah.
Dude, like that would probably kill a normal man.
I mean, the road. Absolutely. This past Rogue Invitational, they were doing the dumbbells, and one of the dumbbells was 300 pounds. And it's not like a regular handle. Right. It's the fat handle. So like you can't even close your hand around the dumbbell.
Right.
So you have to be able to grip the dumbbell strong enough with your hand to pick it up to get it to your shoulder, and it's a one-hand press.
Yes.
So yeah, some of the weights they're moving is absurd.
Imagine handshaking that guy. It's like, can I have my arm back, please?
He accidentally grabbed your forearm.
Yeah, he's just like, oh my god.
Well, what's hilarious, and I'll add a picture in here, is when you look at a regular person next to like Olympia bodybuilder, you're like, man, the regular person looks like a child. But then you take that Olympia bodybuilder and you stand him next to a strongman. You're like, I thought he was a bodybuilder. Look how small he is.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny.
He looks like a child.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the announcers at one of the shows was like, all right, now we're going, I think they were doing like Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
We're going from strong men to big men. And he's like, I don't say big men like big men. He's like, these are some big guys, you know, they're some big motherfuckers. And they do. There was one instance where one of the Mr. Olympias was walking by like Thor.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's a fucking child. That is a muscle-bound child next to this. He could like pat him on the head and be like, good job out there.
Well, yeah, because bodybuilding, you look at those guys and they're big, but essentially to be a bodybuilder, you just need, 1, a shit ton of anabolic steroids.
Yep.
Right.
2, you need like a ridiculous diet, and 3, you just need to move like weight a bunch of times. It's literally just time under tension to rip the muscle and cause it to grow. Strongmen don't care about muscle growth.
No.
Right.
Strongmen just want to lift as much weight as possible. They are a different breed of creature.
And that's why you'll see
completely.
actually being taller in bodybuilding is a negative. You'll see that a lot of the bigger bodybuilder competitors tend to be shorter in stature. Because if you're shorter, the more muscle you put on, the more it shows
more it looks good.
based on your height. So someone like Lou Ferrigno, who's over 6 foot, always had issues, even though he was the heaviest guy on stage, to look as big as the guy that's 6 inches shorter than him. He needed that much more mass.
Well, I'm going to have to look that up because I don't think Lou ever won. Now you mentioned that. I think his height actually played a negative against him.
So you're telling me
career.
the Hulk
never won this Olympia.
Yeah, because
he lost to Arnold like legitimately every year.
because a lot of it becomes.
I mean, the time of Arnold, who's beating him?
No one.
Arnold when he was there, but that's standard. Not to get too deep into bodybuilding versus strongman here. A lot of times with the Olympia, when one person wins, it'll be usually a multi-year reign.
No, he won.
So-
he won Mr. America and he won Mr. Universe twice, but he never ever won the Mr.
And
Olympia
he's
title.
a big man, but that height there doesn't work. Whereas in strongman,
Plays at a disadvantage.
the height plays a big advantage because a lot of them there's usually a stone carry at some point in time, and it's over another implement. So that height you have lends itself to be easier to clear the obstacle that you're doing something on. And even like the Rogue Invitationals, they're building huge implements where you have to push something, but the height of the bar is already at like 5-6 feet. Right. You know, so it's like if you're under 5 feet, now you're at a disadvantage of the angle you're pushing at versus someone who's taller and they could get a better angle for the push.
I think that's the reason I always liked strongman. Like I was more drawn to that as opposed to powerlifting. Like powerlifting, it's like, okay, I can wrap my knees, you know, like and like you just move the weight once. Move it from here to here, and then that's it. It's over. Whereas strongman, like it was different things. They'd be like, okay, we're gonna pull a train up the tracks.
Right.
Like okay, we're gonna grab a boat anchor and run it 50 fucking yards.
Yes.
Like it took athleticism too. And it's like you even said something earlier. You'd see like guys in the early days would stop running and shit.
Yeah, they're looking like, wait a second, we're running now. Get the fuck out of here.
They would quit halfway through the event.
Since it's a medley of events, even something as simple as deadlift would be done different ways. Sometimes it's for a 1 rep max. Sometimes it's a static weight, and it's how many can you do total,
With the keg,
or
the keg in the basket.
how many you could do in under a certain time period, or it's a deadlift, but they keep adding weight as you go up. So it's like, deadlift, but there's like 10 variations of the way they would do that. They've had deadlifts where it was face to face with the person you're deadlifting. So you're doing reps looking at
your
the
opponent.
other guy. Like, you got one more? Fuck you, I got one more. You got one more? I got one more.
That's what I thought was funny is that Eddie Hall sometimes like he'll stop in the middle of a competition,
just flip
give
the
him
person
finger,
off.
and be like, yo, fuck you, bitch. But I think characters like that put eyes on the competition,
Yes.
on the sport. Somebody that like the Mountain, Thor, like he
His
got
star
onto
power
Game of
was
Thrones.
unprecedented.
Oh yeah,
Because of how big Game of Thrones was.
he brought
Yes.
eyes to the sport.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
You know,
he did.
and I think that's what it needs really to grow. Just like jiu-jitsu, right? If you put the comparison there, where there really isn't a ton of money in jiu-jitsu, it seems to be growing year after year.
Yeah.
More money into it, more sponsorships and things like that. I think strongman, even though it's been around for a long time,
I think strongman
can use some of that.
Yeah.
It's definitely. I mean, look at it. It's like a larger than life thing. It definitely has a market for it, and I think if more people would just be exposed to it,
Yeah.
they'd like it. I mean, it's not as stagnant, I'd say, as powerlifting or something like that.
Yeah, strength sports in general, they've been around for a while, and they've been very slowly but still steadily growing. Because you see the same issues with powerlifting, where it's been around for a while.
But you
it's
can't name anyone.
changed
Like you couldn't name anyone.
ever
Right.
so slightly. Well, I mean, like Lane Norton was a big man in powerlifting there, especially in the natural competitions. But when you're dealing with some of that, the problem with powerlifting, it gets very muddy because you have tested federations and then essentially open federations, which is like come in juiced up.
Tested
testing.
powerlifting sounds like an oxymoron.
Yes, but you'll see it's much smaller guys.
You know,
much smaller guys.
Is powerlifting in the Olympics?
Yeah, Olympic weightlifting.
Olympic weightlifting
See,
is in there.
I would say like
Which is
something
the crazy
like
shit, like the clean and jerk,
Right.
and
Yeah.
just
You could
motions that would
take
kill you if you did them wrong.
powerlifting, like, because to me, like, I love the Olympics, but some of the sports and the events need to change. Right?
Yeah.
There are better things that we could do. Like, we could get rid of shit like curling. Get the fuck out of here with that. Bring in
Strongman.
powerlifters, strongman competitions, and do like that would be exciting to watch. Because it would put eyes on the sport.
They do lend themselves to different body types. Like, for example, Olympic lifting is very explosive, and it tends to be actually a bit of a shorter stature person, and it's based on body weight your body weight versus the weight that you're lifting in that percentage difference.
When's bare knuckle boxing gonna be?
Powerlifting is like just raw brute force. It's not fast. It's generally a slower lift, but it's just for the one. So you got one that's slow but strong, one that's explosive, but then you say something like strongman, which uses a combination of both, but also there's a heavy cardio, because a lot of times they'll do things where, like you said, here's the thing, it's not just pick it up, it's pick it up, move it over there, and then go do something else at the same time. So
Which would benefit sometimes a smaller, like, more athletic competitor.
Yeah.
And that's what differentiated when I started watching it, Mariusz Pudzianowski.
Right.
Like, he was ripped and he was strong, but he was a smaller dude. And he would, like, he wouldn't just, like, they'd be, like, lifting a heavy weight up this podium. And, like, the one guy would be able to lift it up, sit it, but then he'd have to take breaths.
Just to
Mariusz
keep it
would
moving.
Just continue exploding, and he would outlast them. He might be losing in the beginning of the race, but he would always pull through and beat them in the end because he had more endurance.
he had better endurance.
It was more aspects of strength.
Yeah.
And I missed the freak shows of the early shows. I mean, if you watched the early ones, they had like sumo wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
Like guys that had no. You're watching these two 400-pound behemoths.
Who was the guy with the crazy fucking face? He always made like the craziest face, especially in the sumo competition.
Oh, Bill Kazmaier.
That was Kaz. Yeah. Yeah, he was a monster.
He was a nutcase.
He would look across. I'm like, that is a spooky motherfucker right there. Like, he looks at you like, he's gonna murder me.
I'm pretty sure he was in the NFL, so you didn't really want to run into him.
Yeah, and I think part of the sumo, I think
he was.
Part of the idea of doing that was you saw generally how actually big these guys were, because they're not covered in layers doing their competition. They're just wearing the sumo diaper. I forget the name of it.
Right.
But you see, like, oh no, that's all muscle. They got some fat there, but that is a lot of fucking muscle.
Well, hold on a second. One of my favorite power lifters, okay, Big Z.
Yeah.
He's not all muscle.
Oh.
He may be the strongest man in the planet.
Zemeckis is slowly gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, he's got that
beast. He makes some of the competitions look like a child is doing it. He does it with such ease, a smile on his face.
Yes.
He's a character himself, but yeah, he's gotten large.
He's still ranked like in all time. He's still ranked as number one. I think Brian Shaw is slowly creeping into kind of that mind share of plausibly one of the strongest. But
a lot of people.
Zemeckis
is still the guy that I think reigns in terms of all time.
Žydrūnas Savickas, the Lithuanian powerlifter, because of how many wins he has and his longevity in the sport, they said he's almost unanimously considered to be the greatest strength athlete of all time. Because of how long he's been doing it.
You can't deny it. I mean, he is an absolute animal when you watch him. You know, like, it's funny because they'll show, like, you know, the competitors in a row. This guy's struggling, but just gets it. This guy's doing it, bleeding out of his nose.
Yep.
And then he comes, he's like, done.
Yep.
You know, like,
four-time world's strongest man, 8-time Arnold Classic strongman champion. And he's won Lithuania's strongest man 16 years. So,
jeez.
So he's been active for a while. He's been active for a while.
Animal.
Yeah. He reigned for a long time.
Is he still active?
I don't know if he's still active. Because last time I checked, he had lost a lot of weight, and he's more like kind of moving towards retirement.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a
and by losing a lot of weight, I mean he's probably 340 pounds.
Yeah, there's a finite window for how long you can stay
80% body fat.
that big for that long. Because even You'll notice as soon as they retire, they do trim down quite a bit. Even Eddie Hall, who after he retired, he had lost a lot of weight, not muscle, but like a lot of the fat that was necessary to do some of these events. He got rid of a ton of it.
His wife was worried about him because of how small he was and how much he had to eat to maintain that strongman physique.
Yeah.
It was putting a toll on him. I mean, it's not good for you. At the end of the day, it's not.
He's like, I'll eat a whole turkey, wrap it in bacon, and just pour fat on top of it, and that's breakfast. You know, like, fuck.
No, they eat an insane amount of food. I mean,
Yeah.
if Brian Shaw has a thing out there where you see what he eats all day, and it's like constant.
Yeah.
Now, is it comparative to sumo wrestling? Like the amount of food that
The amount they eat?
I wouldn't want to say the amount they eat. Yeah,
Probably.
the amount they eat.
Probably.
I know sumo. It's more. I'd say sumo. It's more regimented. Like whereas the strongman competition, you'd work out, eat, and you still go through a normal day. The sumo wrestlers all live together. They train, and then they have a specific time where they'll eat.
And they're all eating the same thing.
And they're all eating the same thing, and then they have a designated sleep time, middle of the day.
Yeah, right after they eat.
Okay.
So they'll eat 4,000 calories for
then
lunch,
sleep.
and then they'll take a nap.
Go to
Right, so that it kind of sticks to them.
Also, a weird thing about sumo, I don't know, I think I touched on this before in one of our episodes, but the higher you are, like the higher your rank is, you eat first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
There's
like-
a pecking order. Alpha
So
dog.
when you're bottom trying to work your way up, you're eating them scraps.
Okay.
All right, you're eating the bottom of the soup bowl. So whereas a strongman, it's not that quite that serious and structured.
So let me ask you guys then, if you had to pick one of your favorite competitions within the powerlifting genre, which is your favorite to watch as far as like the strongman goes? Like I liked the keg toss.
Yeah.
I thought it's exciting and it's a crazy display of power.
There's something about seeing someone take something that's heavy for a regular person and them throwing it 20, 30 feet in the air.
Bro, I seen Thor one time he wasn't even looking back. He's just pick, throw, throw. And the announcer's like, I don't know if I would stand behind him. Like, the audience, if I was in the audience, I'd take a couple steps back. You know, like it was launched into the air.
Yeah.
You know?
I think,
it's weird knowing that he could kill you with a keg.
yeah.
Or
Like,
he
if
could kill
you
you like a keg. He could probably toss me in the air.
If you pissed him off at a party, he would just grab the keg that everyone's drinking out of, and you could have a 10-second start, and he would hit you with the fucking.
Oh God.
Yeah, I think the record was like nearly 30 feet or 31 feet almost. Brian Shaw was
insane.
holding it for a little while there.
Right.
But that's an absurd height to throw something as heavy as a keg.
Yeah. Do we know how much a keg weighs?
Well,
It depends. I mean, I know the ones they're using. I'm not sure.
they go up in different weights depending on if they're doing multiple kegs in a ladder or if they're doing a single keg for height. So usually the single keg for height is a static weight that stays, and they're doing it multiple times each person. But if they're doing like the ladder, each keg will progressively get heavier.
Right.
Which is why it's like it's not just you're trying to throw them fast. It's also they're getting
okay, I see what
heavier.
you're saying.
52 pounds.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
So he threw a 52-pound keg 30-some feet in the air. All right.
Yeah,
noted.
that's beast. But they do it with such ease. It's dope. I like that one particularly because, like I said, like it's explosive. You can really see, their power on display the whole time. But like to me, I'm like, that's just something absurd being tossed at a ridiculous height, and they're like, no look pass.
Yeah.
I'm like, and they're doing like 5 or 6 of them at one shot. So that's pretty cool.
The Atlas stones are always entertaining, but over the years I've found that for some people the Atlas stones they're at a disadvantage because of the length of their arms or their height
or their belly.
So
Is that the one that they're picking up the big round stones
to put them on top?
And you gotta think, you gotta chalk the shit out of your hands.
Yeah.
There's nothing to
Yeah.
grip.
So
It's a smooth stone.
So the people with the long enough wingspan where they could get their hands around it, they're at a huge advantage, especially if they're also taller.
Not to mention some of those rocks. I mean, they get up to like 300 and some pounds, and they're round with no handle.
Yeah,
Like,
so you have to do
couldn't move that.
a different type of deadlift because you have to do a deadlift with a rounded back.
Yeah.
So
Which is great for your body, by the way.
yeah, it's fantastic.
Perfect.
That sounded sarcastic almost. Like
Almost. Not quite. But
it's great
we're
for your
getting there.
body.
Yeah. So I've
Always
always
deadlift with a round back.
Yeah.
Stare at the floor.
so the favorite that's always ended up really for me is more or less been the deadlift. The 1 rep, because I am a fan of powerlifting as well. So that one, there isn't really anything like different height does play a little bit into it. But when you get enough people that size, it really just comes down to it's just raw power.
Right.
You know, like your height, your genetics, some of that is really taken off the table because it is a very technical lift at the same time. Whereas in some of the other events, your height, the length of your arms, how tall they put the podium that day plays a bigger part. Now, the deadlift, it's a bar. Do you have your technique down? Right. Can you pick it up?
Is that the one that Thor held the title?
Oh, Eddie Hall has the official record.
Eddie Hall
has
Thor
the official record.
Unofficial.
And Thor has the unofficial record. Yeah. So it was
501 kilos.
501 kilos.
For you non-metric people, it's
all of us.
1,102 pounds.
America.
Yeah.
That's a ridiculous amount of weight.
I remember I watched that live from his gym when he did it. And it was amazing to watch someone move that much weight. And the fucked up thing was, he looked like he had more in the tank.
Yeah.
There are people that wanted him to go again that day. They said, you can get more. You can get 20 more pounds. Like, throw it on there.
I think at that point, you got to be like, all right, I'll come back again at another time because that's got to take a huge toll on your body.
Well, it's kind of like a fuck you to Eddie Hall, too, because it's like, all right, like you lifted 1,000 and
I'm going to do
one.
Yeah,
you lifted 1,100 peanuts. And like you just walk up and go,
one more.
And one. So it's basically like when you're a kid, it's like fuck you times 10. Fuck you times 11.
Yes.
Just
like,
one.
How long are we going to do this, bro?
One up.
But you know what? It's smart too if you think about it, right? From a commercial standpoint, all I have to do is be that one better than you.
Yes.
But then it gives your competitor a chance to be like, you know what? I'm going to do 2 and come back at you.
Yes.
And you can kind of create like a rivalry there and build on each other. So it's actually it could be a smart marketing plan.
Yeah, because like if you're in comp, if you do make a world record lift, most comps will actually let you go again if you wish to increase the weight some more.
Yeah.
So in strongman, in powerlifting, they'll do the same thing. So if you make a world record lift, they're like, all right, you got the record.
Right.
So even if that was your third lift, which is usually your last lift for the day, if you wanted to, you'd be like, you know what? Give me another 5 kilograms. They're like, cool. Fourth lift.
Let's do it.
Go. They want to see the record move. So the only thing that does throw it off, because since it was out of comp, there are many lifters that out of comp can do much more weight than they can do in competition. In competition,
kind of like the theory of the gym warrior.
Right.
Yes.
Like we all know a guy that's in the actual jiu-jitsu room. Beast, subs guys, or in an MMA gym. He moves good.
Competition shows up,
put him under
he
that
shits
lights,
the bed.
Put him under the lights, put him under the mat. Doesn't always fucking work as well.
That's true. It's true.
Because
it's a real thing.
When you're at your gym and you're at your home, you're using
there's a comfort.
You're using your weights. You're using your bar. You got your thing to chalk. You're warming up at your pace. In a competition, you don't necessarily get to warm up at your pace.
No.
Right.
You got 20 competitors, and there's only so much weight in the back that everyone's trying to take their turns and warm up on.
Right.
And you're trying to time based on how fast everybody else is. So there's more of a mental game in the competition.
Plus you got that little thing called the audience, which kind of messes with your
for
nerves
sure. And
I
I can attest to that because when I went to my first competition, I felt like that was a big focus. Like, in the gym, like nobody gives a fuck. You're doing your thing. Everybody's going at it. You're having a good time and you're competing and you're practicing and you're training. When you're there and like all eyes are on you, you're like, fuck.
Well, imagine that. Even if say you're in England and you're going up against Eddie Hall.
Yeah.
And he's the hometown guy.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get in your zone and they got some guy behind you. Hey, fuck you, Nelson, you piece of shit. And you're just there to lift.
Wait, like Happy Gilmore?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you suck.
Exactly. You got some guy.
It happens. Because strongman, it's
You suck.
for
Yes.
as known worldwide as it is, the audience, it's not like they're far away. They're actually usually very close. Like they're like spitting distance from the competitors while they're doing the lift. So you can be 5 feet away like, you piece of shit, you can't lift it. Put it down. Why are you trying to beat Big Z?
Right,
That's Big Z's record. What are you doing?
This is the house of Big Z, bro.
So you can really...
Kind of what happens to LeBron every single game.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. But now, Brian Shaw, right?
Yes.
He is the United States powerlifting champ.
Brian Shaw.
Strongman.
Brian
Strongman.
Shaw, I would say, you could say he's probably the strongest American that
Yeah.
has ever lived.
Right.
I mean, he's a 4 or a 5-time winner.
Yeah, he's I would say like Big Z was naturally
dish it.
strong beyond everybody else. And maybe he was, because you do know some people that are just naturally more athletic than others.
Sure.
Like Strongman, like a lot of those competitors were athletes from other sports originally that ended up in Strongman. So some of them, like Mark Henry, was a power lifter, an Olympic lifter, and then they started also doing so you had kind of almost strength athlete misfits landing in Strongman.
Okay.
Brian Shaw was probably the first like athlete that started doing Strongman as like, this is the thing I want to pursue. So he started really raising the bar in terms of what could be done when he walked into the sport. And that's why you see someone like Thor, where he really started regimenting
6'10".
and building his own gym and building the implements to train. You even see Eddie Hall at first, he was doing training, but he wasn't training the activities.
Right.
And that was a lot of what the guys were doing was they didn't have those implements at home.
Right.
You'll see crazy gyms now where they'll have Atlas stones and they'll have some of the implements to do those things, but they weren't around a lot. You had to build
Right.
them yourself if you wanted to. Like you could get a yoke.
Nobody has a 300-pound dumbbell.
No.
With a fucking.
You don't?
Yeah, no.
I got one in my backyard.
Yeah, those circus dumbbells are not around much. You can get them now. So in the last 10 years, you're
We should
able
get
now
one
to
for a
order.
prop.
To
I
order.
don't know if I could bring it here by lifting it. Do they send it with a crane? Like, the FedEx guy would be so fucking mad at me if I ordered
man.
a 300-pound dumbbell. I would just look into my door camera and just be like, fuck you, dude. Fuck you. And he's got his whole family there lifting the box, his like 3-year-old child
Dragging
under
it,
it. Like,
Dragging it.
Because places like Rogue have
I
made
threw on
it.
my back twice putting this on your patio. I'm suing you.
We don't have health insurance at FedEx.
I'm sure he wasn't happy when I ordered some of the weights. Because
Oh, I know.
I would order a couple plates at a time. I'm sure there was time. Those boxes look beat up.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
sure they weren't shipped that way.
No,
You
they
know,
were
but,
kicking,
I
spitting
can
on
attest.
it.
I
Yeah.
can attest. I worked at FedEx during one Christmas season in my youth, and we break your shit. There are many unhappy children on Christmas morning.
Bezos, get on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
But places.
I'm actually probably responsible for a lot of Amazon success, dude. Like, oh man.
Yeah.
I broke a lot
Places
of
like
toys.
Rogue Fitness have made it much easier to get proper powerlifting equipment, proper strongman equipment. So you can now order the circus dumbbells. You can get the molds to make the Atlas stones. You could just go online right now and order a yoke and order farmer's handles. Like that type of stuff you had to build yourself.
Is
Right.
York
So-
York barbell still big? I remember.
York is still around.
Yeah, I grew up in York, Pennsylvania. I grew up right near the Weightlifting Hall of
Yeah.
Fame, and York Barbell plant is there. So that was like a thing. When I saw York Barbell, I just assumed, oh, it's fucking York. Like,
That's
Yeah.
dope. I grew up near Krispy Kreme. Glazed.
I mean, it's
Which ironically is one of the staples of a strongman diet, actually.
oh, I'm sure there's
See, it all
lots
comes
of
back to
donuts.
Strongman.
Oh,
Lots of
all
donuts,
comes
but
back
you know,
to it.
you see a lot of carbs like that backstage for a bodybuilding show as well when
You
they're
do.
trying to get the pump going.
you do.
But it in the last couple of years, it's really revolutionized the sport because now any competitor, even the beginner, can get the implements to properly train the activities.
Ironically, though, bodybuilding competitions, everybody's in a bikini bottom, whereas strongmen, very little bikini bottoms used in competition.
No, they typically wear baby powder all over them. I've noticed, like,
Yeah,
especially like
it's,
Eddie Hall. I'm like, why even wear a shirt? Just pour a gallon of baby powder on you and just walk around in
It's
that.
chalk. It's for grip.
Yeah.
So it dries
so
up
it-
any
yeah.
moisture, so you don't lose your grip on certain things.
It makes sense, but they do wear it like it's
Oh, yeah.
going out of business.
Oh,
like you're
yeah,
never
same-
going to find chalk again.
Yeah, same thing in a
It's like spray
powerlifting
tan in a
competition.
bodybuilding competition.
Yes.
Everybody's orange. Everybody's
Oh
fucking
yeah,
orange.
everybody's going chocolate body in the bodybuilding competition. They did.
We need to talk about that.
They have-
Why aren't we going after these motherfuckers?
They
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up with that, orange people?
Yeah, you're going to go after Robert Downey Jr. for blackface, but you're not going to go after the
What's-
bodybuilders?
Yeah,
You know
What
what?
about all the regular, naturally orange people out there getting offended
Right.
by your fucking spray tan, asshole?
Yeah,
You know
Oompa
what's-
Loompas aren't being properly represented here. This is horse shit.
We stand for orange people
Yes,
where other people do not.
We here at Sofa Kingdom, we stand for the Oompa Loompas, and we're tired of this shit. Shut down the bodybuilding.
We are pro Oompa Loompa.
We are. If you're an Oompa Loompa, please write in. We'll have you on the show.
Yeah, we have the king of Oompa Loompas, Eddie.
When the blackface thing
damn it.
started really becoming a problem a couple years ago, you started seeing a lot of bodybuilding competitions where they would do the spray tan only up to the neck, which looked
Neck up.
fucking hilarious. Like they'd be like black here, and then it gets a super white face.
Right. It's silly because, right, they're doing
They knew
it.
what they were doing.
They're doing it for a purpose because they're trying to show definition.
Correct.
Right.
So it's not like, okay, we're doing this to make fun of somebody, but
Yes.
that's just hilarious how culture, like pop
Darker
culture,
and more tan you are,
influences.
it's like the more
Yeah. Pop
striations
culture
show up.
removed the intent of you needed it to be seen under the lights.
Right.
So intent was no longer important in what you were doing. So you do see it still. Some people stop halfway. Some people have started going with a more of a color that's not quite a natural color you could normally get because it works as well as going with something dark.
Say go blue.
It's weird.
Just go blue or green.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Right?
Purple.
Just, you know what? Let's make it a thing. Let's start Sofa Kingdom neon color body spray.
A
Yes.
standard color for everybody that's on stage.
I'm all for that.
Right? Like a color for each region of the country you're coming from. You know what I mean? Like, this is your color. You know, we
Yep.
could do this. That's all right.
It's
That's our idea. Don't steal it.
It's also cool to see like when guys do strongman, like they're such large characters, like what they transition into, because a lot of them haven't stayed stagnant in the sport.
Yeah.
I know Mariusz Pudzianowski, after he stopped doing strongman, he became an MMA fighter. He actually is still active.
Yep.
Nice.
He's called out numerous people. He actually fought former UFC heavyweight champion Tim Sylvia. He's actually fought some high level guys.
How'd he do?
I think he won.
Nice.
Mariusz took it
Yeah,
seriously.
Eddie Hall's been training boxing.
Yeah.
Mountain's been training boxing.
The downside of it is it's hard to find a fight outside of Europe or maybe Japan because
Right.
you're not making 265. It's
Yeah.
never going to happen. I mean, Mariusz Pudzianowski will never make 265.
No.
And you would think that, wouldn't it kind of take away from the sport of strongman, right? Because it's a different build for fighting.
it
you need to
can-
kind of be a
Yes.
little leaner.
Yes,
Yeah.
In order to have
completely different
movement. I mean, they're athletes, right? There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
They're carrying that weight. Sometimes they're moving with it, sometimes running with it, rowing, tossing. So they're definitely athletic, but it's a different kind of athleticism.
Yeah, I get
that's
it.
the elephant in
That's
the room
where
right
I
now,
get it
yeah.
for Eddie Hall, where he retired from strongman. I think it was taking too much of a toll on his body, so he moved on to something else just for fun, some boxing. He talks his shit and he gets people to laugh and whatnot. For Hafthor, it's a little odd because he was kind of at his best, and to be going from like at your best at your sport to then move on to boxing just for like an exhibition is a little weird. It's almost like wait another 2-3 years, finish your reign.
Right,
You're at the top. Wait until you're no longer on podium or something.
He's young, and he did kind of step out right after he broke the deadlift world record. It was weird.
Yeah.
But the thing is, for those of you who don't know, what we're talking about right now, the elephant in the room, is there's beef in between Eddie Hall of England, the former deadlift world record holder, and Hafthor Bjornsson of Iceland.
Ooh,
Yep.
what started it?
Well, I think it goes back to 2017. There was a dispute at one of the competitions. Eddie Hall, and it's the one that Eddie Hall won.
Yeah.
And Eddie Hall was going neck and neck with Hafthor, and they were doing military press, I believe. It was some kind of overhead press, and Hafthor got called for dipping. He went too low before he got started with this. It wasn't a strict press.
He was using
Right.
too much momentum.
Right.
A little English on his move.
And two reps,
Oh,
one or
boo.
one or two reps did not get called.
Okay.
And the ref was, I think it was Magnus for Magnusson. I think it was an Icelandic ref.
Okay.
So he said no, two of those reps didn't count. Well, it ended up costing Hafthor the competition. Eddie Hall
Got
won
it.
They said the beef was squashed. It never was. They consistently talk shit on each other.
Yeah.
They've accused each other of cheating, of being poor sportsmanship. So that's why after the deadlift record, when Thor broke it, there was a contract all of a sudden. $1 million contract, Eddie Hall versus Thor in this big celebrity boxing thing.
Hey.
The
Yeah.
heaviest boxing match of all time was what they billed it as.
But you know what? If you really think about it, it's weird, but it's not, right? Because they're competitors at the highest level.
They're
right?
very competitive.
They want to be the best at whatever they do. So you put those two giant fucking egos, and now they're beefing with each other, and now it gets to a point where there's money.
And
They're
both-
like, why not?
And
Let's
both,
make that money.
both of them have knockout power.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
oh, yeah.
And
Let's be
Eddie
honest.
Hall is is brilliant at building up a crowd and getting eyes on him.
Yeah.
Because he does like to play very brash and very comical when he's doing the things, but he actually is like if you go through his YouTube, he's very much a real nice, laid-back family man. But when it comes to the competition, he loves to get in there. And,
He's a showman.
And just shoot the shit with people.
Sure.
So the people that see him outside, so like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing up some of the like bullshit between
Of
them.
course.
But I'm sure he's very competitive, and for Hafthor, because Hafthor did break his record, but he broke it out of competition.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a in powerlifting you would get the same thing. Where it's like, hey man, that doesn't.
There's a stigma to it.
Yeah, like that doesn't count.
Yeah.
You weren't with a crowd. The lights weren't on you. There wasn't the pressure and the adrenaline of doing it live when it needed to be done day of. You're at home. You're in your own personal
Right,
gym.
there's elements that are missing.
It's at your leisure. It doesn't count. It's not the same as game day. Because some people, they don't perform their best in the gym. But once the crowd is on them, 10, 20% boost.
Right.
And the very opposite, some people in the gym, they're monsters. They step on stage and they just can't put it together.
Isn't there also the other aspect of it is that there's a day of competition going on. So your
Correct.
body is kind of fatigued from other things, and
Yeah.
then you're jumping in and breaking a world record. There's a little
And that's-
more
yeah,
like something special about that, right?
Yep.
You're in the competition mode. Things are going on all day, and then you break a record. That's dope. Whereas like you got all day to just kind of relax, throw back, and then go in.
And
break
that's
that
that's
record.
also why it's always been an accepted rule that if you're on your last lift, if that last lift broke a record and you wanted to increase your own record more, they'd give you a fourth lift.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So and that's been
yeah.
accepted in almost all strength sports, whether it was strongman, powerlifting, any of those single static lift moves. You broke your record. They're like, yeah, man, you want another? Put
Go
the
for
weight
it.
on. Go again.
Yeah, that's why I see it's like I see both sides of it. It's like, yeah, he did it at a competition, but it's like at the same time, there's all these elements like the crowd, stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like weightlifting, powerlifting, strongman. It's like different than other sports where you're competing against someone else.
Right.
It's you against the weight and you against yourself.
Right.
And so yes, Eddie is correct. Thor should hit it again in competition if he wants it to be like official.
Yep.
Sure.
But at the same time, that man stood up
Right.
with 1,102 pounds.
Yeah.
So now
So-
I do want to bring it back to this because you said the squats was yours, right?
No, deadlift.
Deadlift.
Deadlifts was
Yeah.
yours. What about you?
Well,
What's your favorite competition to watch?
I can't argue with. I would go as far as say that the deadlift I think is the quintessential and like the greatest strongman lift.
like the
I think.
definer.
Yeah.
The
of
definer of
strongman.
just
You-
pure
okay.
strength.
You man, weight on floor, stand up with weight like that
Got it.
right there. Pick up the heaviest amount of weight you
Sure.
can.
Yeah.
I think that defines it. But I think since we're going, and you what did you say? You said
Oh, I like the keg toss.
The keg toss, he said.
That
Yeah,
actually
that's
is a
fun.
good one.
That's a fun one.
I think for shits and giggles, I'll do any type of pool, like any type, like where they pool
Like
something,
a truck or
Yes.
something.
Yeah.
Like, originally
yeah,
it
yeah,
started.
yeah.
It's because they put the harness on.
Yeah.
and you have to get it started. They give you a rope
Yep.
to get it started, and then once you get it moving, you're just trying to use the momentum and keep it going as far as
Yeah.
you can.
Yep.
And it's changed. They've pulled trucks. They've pulled buses. They've pulled planes.
Damn.
They've pulled train
Yeah.
cars up the track.
That's sick.
Have you
Yeah.
seen what they have for the Rogue Invitational for that style of event? It's
I have not.
the Ring of Pain. It's a huge. I mean, this thing makes them look tiny, and it has several arms on it, like you would see on like a pirate ship to pull up like the anchor.
Right.
But you're by yourself, and you have to make the thing move. But it's such
Is
like
that where you like pick it up like this with like a?
it
like
looks
a
like that,
basket
but
grip?
yeah.
Or you're
So
pulling it into
imagine
your
that.
chest?
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
imagine that one, but so big that even the strongmen have to put their hands out in front of them.
So it's the thing in Conan the Barbarian that he's walking.
Yes.
Okay,
Dude.
all right,
Okay, all right.
And it's a 60-second race for distance.
Wow.
So and it's such dead weight that if you stop, it's like impossible to get going again.
You'll never get it moving again.
Well, I seen
Yeah.
this one video on YouTube, and I don't remember the guy's name, but he was pulling a bus right? And he pulled it so hard and so fast to the finish line. When he fell at the finish line, the bus was still going.
Oh, they had to get it,
8 or 9 guys had to run out to try to hold the bus and pull him as the bus is still like about to fucking run his ass over.
Yeah, because
it was pretty fucking wild.
The cardio demand, like if you watch some Eddie Hall's,
they drop.
Some Eddie Hall's competitions, he had the mentality of he would push himself, even his cardio, to the point where he couldn't breathe and he would pass out.
Right.
And he actually even did it on the one ring implement where you lift it. So he managed, and at the end, like the last 2-3 seconds, he was so low on air, just on his demand, that he does just pass out. But that was his mentality of like, no, I'm winning. I'm here. I'm going to win. And it doesn't matter if I'm pushing myself to the point where I can't breathe and I'm going to pass out.
Well, that's how seriously they take the sport.
Yes.
You know, so you got to give it up for these guys.
But I will say I don't like. I mean, I know that they're drawing attention to the sport and everything, but I would like to see Eddie and Thor get back to Strongman as opposed to at least Thor.
Yeah, I know Thor. I think Thor may come back. I don't know if
He's
Eddie.
got so much more to give.
Yeah, because I think Eddie started having too many health issues. Because
and he opened an organization. Like he has his own strongman competition that he runs.
I also don't like Eddie's chances in the fight. Like, being honest. Now, there's people that counter and they say, "Oh, Eddie is English and he's done some boxing," and there's people that make the argument, "Oh, Eddie was a swimmer, so he's actually a cardiovascular athlete."
Right.
Hafthor Bjornsson is 6'10".
The arm reach difference
is amazing.
Is absurd.
And not
he
to
trained
mention,
with McGregor, right?
I followed both of them. I followed both of them on social media. Hafthor is 100% serious. He is now 6'10", probably around 360, shredded.
Yeah.
Just a cardiovascular machine. He's done exhibitions against other professional boxers.
Yep.
He's sparring all the time.
Damn.
I do not
How does he look?
He looks amazing.
Yeah.
For someone that big and who you think would be uncoordinated.
Even though Eddie's been training, he's had several injuries. Even though
tear.
he's retired, because he still exercises. He had his show he was doing on History Channel, and he still does things on the side around strength sports. So he does still end up having issues and injuries. So this whole time that he's been doing the training, he's had several muscle tears and things like that. Where Thor's been, Thor did have a partial face paralysis,
belt palsy.
Yep. Yeah, a little bit back there, but it didn't really affect him too bad.
No, he was able to actually do the deadlifts and still compete.
Yeah, so
with
he was
half his face paralyzed.
Yeah.
So he was able to continue going and training, where Eddie's been having to take time on and off in the interim.
And I just don't like his chances. I mean, don't get me wrong. You watch their footage; neither of them are going to win the Golden Gloves.
Right.
No.
They're going to get a pro contract.
Yeah.
But
it just looks like
if
one guy's going to get mauled.
If you watch Eddie hitting pads and Eddie sparring, and then you watch Thor hitting pads and Thor sparring, it's night and day.
Night and day.
And I do not like the fact that one has a reach advantage
and
probably a punching power.
And some of it lends itself to the height difference and the way the muscle spreads out over that height difference, because Eddie is so much shorter, and being around the same weight but being shorter, you're just stockier. It's harder to move.
Sure. Yeah.
Especially for like
target.
Right. All right. So listen, this whole episode we've been talking about strong men. So let's end this on a more feminine note. Okay.
Oh. Okay.
Let's. I got it. Let's discuss the best looking and ugliest actress you can think of, and you know what? We'll start with you, Ian.
Actress or just celebrity in general?
You know what? Celebrity in general. Let's make it cast a wide net over ugly.
Congratulations.
Haul it in.
Congratulations.
So we pick both.
You're a public figure. We're going to make fun of you.
All right. I'm sure that they're definitely not, because obviously everybody's got their preference. So,
right.
I mean,
Right.
Some people may not think my pick is either attractive or my pick
Sure.
is ugly.
This is your opinion.
So right now, I'm going to go with someone who's, I would say, who goes in the attractive column right now.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to go with Henry Cavill.
Oh, all right.
He's one of us. He's a nerd. He's a huge nerd. He builds his own PC.
He is a gigantic nerd.
But if you're playing Superman and you're playing Geralt of Rivia... hey man,
it's hard. It's
hard
to
top that.
Yeah.
And he's British. Do you see that chin? Jesus. Woo! All right. So
Henry Cavill.
Okay, and I love this actor, but he's gonna go on my ugly list. He's extremely talented. I've loved him since Reservoir Dogs. I've loved him since fucking Billy Madison.
Oh,
no.
I loved him in Boardwalk Empire.
Right.
But Steve Buscemi, Jesus,
man.
God.
Listen,
How dare you, sir? He is a firefighter.
I know, he's the American hero. He's the American hero.
he looks like a walking cockroach. Let's be honest, right?
Hey, but I couldn't jerk off to him, so sorry. That's what I got.
Jesus.
All right,
All right.
I got it.
Unlike Henry.
And
I love it.
And this poor bastard, he is a placeholder for many
bastard.
British punk rock leads of bands because they are some hard to look at people.
Oh, yeah. The British punk scene is rough.
Shane McGowan.
Yeah.
He looks like every bad missing tooth British punk rock lead.
God.
It is. We'll
I've
put the
seen-
picture. It's not pretty.
Crackhead.
Oh,
It's
wow.
crackhead
It's,
ugly.
Oh, wow.
it's rough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There is
Crackhead.
there is a clear lifestyle choice where you're in a punk band and they're all making it, and I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Why are you doing
Oh,
that?
Brush your
that's so
teeth,
nasty.
please.
All right, so that's your Ugg mug. Who you going for a good-looking celebrity?
Good luck topping Henry.
Margot Robbie.
She's pretty hot. She's pretty hot.
That's Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn.
Yeah. Ever since Wolf on Wall Street,
Wolf
man.
on Wall Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole heel in the face thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty hot.
Hey,
That's pretty hot.
I'm a foot guy, man.
Yeah.
That Suicide Squad
we
scene.
know.
Hey,
We
that
know.
Suicide Squad scene where she's like, "Oh man, get the keys and shit." Oh man,
You were in heaven.
I was zoned in.
You're like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Don't come knocking
Can
on the
we,
door.
can we pause this for about 35 minutes?
Why are we out of baby oil? all right. So I'm gonna start with my good looking because I want to end it on the ugliest actress I can think of. And I'm gonna start with personally is for best looking actress is gonna go with Scarlett Johansson.
Surprise.
Yeah, and you know maybe it's the Black Widow costume
Maybe.
and the batons. Maybe it's the back flipping, kicking people in the face. I don't know. But she's been in a lot of roles.
And for those of you that
I
don't
like.
know, make sure to look for her leaked nudes. They're out there. They are out there.
She's pretty saucy, so I'm gonna go with Scarlett Johansson. As far as ugliest actress that I can think of, and I don't think there would be any person to disagree with me.
Betty White.
Rest in peace, Meatloaf. Every time I see people, every time I see somebody say "Rest in peace, Meatloaf" because he passed away, I'm like, damn man, you must have been hungry.
His name was Robert Paulson.
Oh yeah. All right, yeah, that guy. So I'm gonna go with oh my god, Sarah Jessica Parker.
Oh my god.
She's fucking hideous. I don't know why
come
she's
on.
a lead in anything. Her face is like Ovaltine. She's fucking disgusting.
Ovaltine. Her face. Ovaltine.
Like if you put her
A
next
Christmas
to
story. A Christmas story. Ovaltine.
if you put her next to that gray alien that sits in the weed shops, you couldn't tell them apart. Big ugly eyes, gray skin, scrawny as fuck.
You know what? What's weird is that opinion is not that unpopular. South Park did a whole thing on that.
Oh yeah.
South Park called her, and I quote, a transvestite donkey witch.
Oh Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, I know they've been giving her the horse face joke for a long time.
Yeah, BoJack
but
Horseman.
Horrible.
But that is-
BoJack Horseman.
South Park goes hard.
Yes,
As they should.
legitimately
As they
called
should.
her a transvestite
Yeah, because
donkey witch.
the show she was in, most notorious for, is Sex in the
City.
City. But I'm
Yeah.
like, who in the city is having sex with her? That's a hard pass.
Shane
All day
McGowan.
long.
Shane
McGowan. Even he would be like,
I don't know.
I don't know, can we dig up Betty White? And on that note, cue the music. Well, thank you for joining us at the Sofa Kingdom podcast. You can find us on all your social media platforms at,
Sofa Kingdom OFC.
and you can find us in 4K on YouTube.
Sofa Kingdom Podcast.
Take it away, Ian.
All right, like, share, subscribe, send it to a friend, send it in an email.
Yeah, and
Comment,
please,
notification bell.
Please don't dig up Betty White.
Please don't think about it. She was an angel. She was an angel. Gone too soon.
Oh my God, she was. Yes, she was.
Oh
She
God.
was. She was a real big humanitarian, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, if you look up all of the things that she did for actors and people that weren't actors, and just she was a pretty good.
They took
person.
away her variety show because they were angry at how many black acts she would allow and deliberately promote on
Yeah,
the show.
well, you can't stop good people.
God bless you, Betty. Till we meet again.
Woo!
Nuts closer.
I will be.
Yeah, because
Indulgent.
you know you love your nuts.
I do love my nuts.
Ian's all about those nuts.
I'm
just,
about the nuts.
Just saying. All right, Eddie, make that a clip. It's like, fuck. We're recording. We're always recording.